To create the elements for our keyring, we're going to use the offline version of Canvas Workspace. I've already activated the ping pong card, so I'm going to go up to Pattern Collection, click on the ping pong card, and all the patterns are now available for us to select. So as I scroll down, you'll see there's some really pretty patterns here. And this one's absolutely fantastic. And I do have ideas for future projects, so stay tuned to my channel for more videos. So I'm going to create a keyring today using one of these stencil patterns. So I'm going to select a letter of the alphabet, click on both elements to bring them onto the mat, and close down this window. If we have a look at what we've got, we have a top layer and a mat. This isn't what I want for my keyring. I need a front and a back that are the same size, and I want another letter to piece in a different colour of marine vinyl to the front of my keyring. Now, to create another letter, if I click on this shape to select it and go up to layer, you'll see that I cannot ungroup it. And this is because this P has already been subtracted or punched out from this shape. So even if I go to Process, Overlap and Divide, nothing will happen. However, there is a way that I can create another letter for my project. So to do that, I'm going to click and drag over everything to select it. Align everything centrally vertically and everything centrally horizontally. Go up to layer and group. And the first thing I'm going to do is resize this to 3 inches in height. So I'm just going to zoom in so you can see this a little better. Okay, so now I have my shape selected. So we're going to go down to the Process Overlap menu, the third icon along, and remove overlap. So you see we've gone from 1 bounding box to 2. So if I click to deselect and take away this top layer, you'll see what we're left with, and we're left with an outer ring, and now we have our separate letter of the alphabet that we can piece in a different colour of vinyl. But unfortunately we still can't ungroup this, so what we're going to have to do is select it, go to Process, Overlap and Divide, and you'll see that now all these elements are separate. So I'm going to click on the outer ring and drag it away as I no longer need it, and I'm going to delete it from the screen. So now I'm going to click and drag over both parts of my letter, go up to layer and group them. So now I just need to create the back of my keyring. So I'm going to select the front, go up to layer and duplicate. Now I want the back of my keyring to be blank, so I'm going to choose the circle and bring it into the mat, and I'm going to shrink this down in size so it just covers the P. I'm going to click and drag over both of the shapes, go to Process, Overlap and Weld. So if I fill this with colour, you'll see that now this is a solid shape. So I'm just going to bring this to the front. So now we have our back here, the front of our keyring, and our separate letter of the alphabet, so we can piece in a different colour. Okay, so what we're going to do is go up to File, and we're going to send it across to our machine. Transfer the file wirelessly to my machine, and now I'll show you how to cut out the marine vinyl. So I'm ready to attach my vinyl to my mat. I'm using a really nice glitter vinyl, as you can see here, and I'm also using some holographic vinyl, really pretty. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to be applying my vinyl to my mat the right side down. Okay, and I'm using a mat which has a fabric support sheet attached, and that's because the vinyl needs to be stuck to the mat quite firmly. You don't have to use a fabric support sheet. You can also use a fairly new mat or a mat that has been recently retacked, but it does need to have a good amount of stick. Okay, so now we're ready to cut. So I have the mat loaded into the machine. As I have my vinyl right side down, I need to flip the image. So I'm going to go to Edit, select everything on the mat, say OK, Object Edit and Mirror Image, and say OK, and OK again. The next thing I'm going to do is scan in my mat so I can accurately place my image over my vinyl. Okay, so now it's just a question of dragging everything into the place I want it to be. Okay, so I have everything positioned on my mat and I'm now ready to cut. So if you're on a CM series machine, I would start at blade 5 and pressure 1, do a test cut and then work your way up from there. I'm using an SDX machine which has auto blade, so I don't need to worry about any test cutting, and I've done this before so I know it works perfectly. So all I have to do is go to OK, select and cut. I'm now ready to glue my keyring together. I'm using E6000 glue. Now this is a strong glue. You will need to have your window open or use this in a really well ventilated area. So I'm just going to turn the back over and apply a blob of glue and use my spreader just to make sure I have really good coverage right up to the edges of my keyring. So then I'm just going to check in the light to make sure I have it fully covered, and you can always apply a little more if you need to. And the idea is that you want to get a nice thin layer so you don't have any lumps and bumps in your finished project. So then I'm simply going to line the front and the back up. As it's vinyl, if you do get any bits of glue on the front, they'll just rub away. Okay. So that's that, and now all I need to do is just piece in my bits of coloured vinyl, and I'm going to press that quite firmly into the holes. because I want to make sure that these do stick. And we're more or less finished. So I'm going to leave this to dry, and then the last job will be just to add my split rings. I'm using a small split ring, and this is a 25mm split ring. These are quite widely available. I bought a set of 10 very cheaply from my local hardware store, and they're easily available online.